evening, everybody. Welcome along to Bridgehaugh Stirling as round 4 of the FOSROC Super Series sprint begins. The professional teams have bowed out of the competition, casting players back to their franchises. And from here on in, it is all about the 6 original sides gunning for silverware. Tonight, with the Ochils behind us and the Wallace Monument peering down upon Bridgehaugh, we've got a clash between 2 of the strongest teams in the tournament. Stirling Wolves against Watsonians. Well, the Wolves were superb last weekend, smiting a Glasgow Warriors side featuring full internationals and a host of up-and-coming pro talents. We welcome back a few Stirling men seconded to the pro team, although flying teenager Logan Jarvie is a late withdrawal from the lineup tonight. Craig Jarden then slots in at centre, and young Ben Salmon, another Warrior last weekend, moves to the wing. Brian Southern is sidelined today, so too Corey Winters, but Marcus Holden scored 19 points against Glasgow, while similarly experienced Craig Jackson was player of the match. Up front, Gregor Hiddleston gets yet more rugby under his belt, having played for Stirling and Glasgow in the opening rounds. George Breeze and James Power promoted from the bench, and former Southern Knights man Rory Knott starts at 6. Opportunities on the bench for Angus Fraser, the Glasgow man, Donald Boas, the tight head prop, and Mikey Heron, the replacement back. Well, Watsonians are counting the cost of a thrilling but bruising 33-all draw with Heriot 6 days ago. A handful of frontline backs ruled out, including the informed Dominic Coetzer at fullback, meaning League captain Lee Miller shifts from fly half to the number 15 jersey, and Jason Baggett, an experienced pivot himself, leaves a place in midfield to take up residence at number 10. The giant winger Ross McKnight scored for Glasgow here last weekend and comes into the Watsonian squad tonight. New Irish recruit George Pringle gets a chance at outside centre. As a first start up front for the Scotland under-20s loosehead Craig Davison. Otherwise, though, it is a settled pack with Cal Davis, Louis Ball and Seb Cecil, Super Series stalwarts and key men, as Watsonians won the sprint and the championship in 2022.
7, Campbell Wilson. 8, Neil Irvin Hess.
Well, we're almost ready to go here. A good crowd inside Bridgehaugh, and it's great to have the company of the former Scotland captain Chris Paterson to guide us through this one. Chris, this is a showdown between 2 of the more dangerous teams in the competition this season. How do you see it panning out?
Yeah, it's hard to call. I think home advantage could be crucial. Stirling second in the table as it stands so far. Watsonians third. And, you know, Watsonians are reigning champions. But I do think there's a physicality to Stirling Wolves this year that perhaps is missing over the last couple of years, and that's mainly in defence. The attack's always been excellent. They've got a real mindset, an attacking mindset to play at that, as we welcome Watsonians, who will also attack. But, you know, where Watsonians have had the key over the last couple of years is the physicality. I now think Stirling have the power to match that, and I think we're in for an absolute cracker.
How important will set piece be tonight? That's an area that Watsonians have dominated over the past year or so.
It will be, of course, as it always is. And the way these teams play, if they can, you know, have good skill accuracy and good skill execution, there may be fewer set pieces than we normally see, but it'll always have an effect, especially when a penalty count, if they're conceding too many penalties, if opposition are kicking the touchline, if this driving maul that gets going that we see in the game now for hookers scoring tries left, right and centre, it'll have a big influence. So your discipline has to be good, your skill execution has to be good, but there will be set pieces, and it's an important part of the game, as it always will be. But I go back to that physicality. There's physicality in both benches as well, so I think we're in for a proper 80-minute challenge.
Well, here come the Wolves, led out by Marcus Holden, scorer of 19 points against Glasgow Warriors, and big Marius Tamosaitis, a key man at tight head as well. There is the captain Holden, New Zealand born, a Cypriot international, so much elite level experience across Europe and his homeland. And the Wolves will be content to keep Watsonians waiting for an extra minute or two as they go into the huddle and prepare to defend their castle once more. So impressive against Glasgow last weekend. Now another challenge on home soil. A challenge officiated by Ian Kenny, tonight's referee. He's been involved in the under-20 Six Nations and the Rugby Europe Championship over the past few seasons. Friday night FOSROC Super Series sprint action, and it is Watsonians in the blue who get us off and running at Bridgehaugh. Such an entertaining third round for both of these teams. Stirling Wolves claiming a big scalp against Glasgow Warriors A. Watsonians led 3 times over, but had to rely on a late try from this man, Jason Baggett, to salvage a 33-all draw against their Edinburgh rivals Heriots through in Golden Acre. That was Glenn Bryce. And now Hiddleston, Warrior last week, now a Wolf once more. Taken in by Ferguson, former Curry Chieftains man who played under Ben Cairns, the recently departed Stirling coach, through at Millennium Park. This is Angus Guthrie, Watsonians' top try scorer last season in the championship. Tall, powerful, elusive. McAndrew to Jamie Beresford. Bit of a try machine himself over the past couple of years, the big lock forward. As is Cal Davis, but he goes backwards under a heavy challenge. Baggett's looking for Pringle.
Oh, free now. Steele was good.
Well, Stirling Wolves have pilfered this one back. Breeze off the deck, and Benedict Grant has plenty of white jerseys outside him. Not is one of them. Beresford goes in for the jackal, but Grant picks, drives, offloads. Glenn Bryce up in the line. Played for both professional Scottish teams and the National 7 squad. Hiddleston the pivot. Jackson, how's the timing of that pass? It's not great. And Ross McKnight with the touch on the boots and the pace in those giant tree trunk legs to carry him under the sticks. A bolt from the Bridgehaugh Blue, 2 minutes played, and Ross McKnight has the opening try.
Well, the opening try is built on defence, isn't it? Yeah, both teams physical in terms of the ball retention. It was Gregor Hiddleston that stole the ball back for Stirling Wolves, and they came alive. Rudy Knock made a bit of yardage down the left-hand side. It was recycled. That's a long pass from Craig Jackson. You can see the extra numbers on the outside for Stirling Wolves. But Ross McKnight flew in, fly-hacked, kept the ball under control and run in for 40 metres. You can see what Craig Jackson's trying to do. You can see the space that was created, but the fact that Ross McKnight identified that, made it difficult for that long pass, put the seed of doubt in Craig Jackson's mind. He got his reward.
Lee Miller wearing 15 on his back rather than 10. But the outcome off the tee is as predictable as ever. 7 points to 0. And for the second time in as many weekends, Ross McKnight has a try at Bridgehaugh.
There's a long pass. The longer the ball's in there, the more the defence have to readjust. If Ross McKnight gets that wrong, then it's a try the other way, because there's 2, if not 3 spare Stirling Wolves players, but it's a really good play for McKnight. Poor pass from Jackson. Well finished. He scored a try in this field last week. He scored another one already tonight.
Cecil leaves that for Guthrie. Both Watsonians wingers have size as well as speed. Angus Guthrie not quite as hefty as Ross McKnight, but almost as tall. 6'3", 6'4", very, very pacey too. Grant's come a long way for that. Hiddleston juggles it backwards. Oldham goes into play scrum half. Rice. Where it goes from Salmon to Jardine, straightening. Grant, good delay on that pass. And James Powell with the charge. Jackson, Hiddleston. Hamish Ferguson the lock forward, out on the edge. McGee for Jackson again. Thought about the kick, but swallowed up by Cecil and Irvin Hess. And the ball goes loose. And we will have the first scrum of the evening. And another big defensive set from Watsonians.
Really good defence from Watsonians. I think Stirling Wolves, they're almost playing across in front of the defence as well, because the width of the defence is so good, the physicality, the one-on-one tackling is excellent. I think Stirling Wolves should really look to put boot to ball, 1 or 2 opportunities, but the difficulty for that is they've got Lee Miller in the backfield for Watsonians, a standoff by trade, playing number 15, who has an excellent boot himself. Jason Baggett drops back as well, so if Stirling Wolves do want to kick, there has to be accurate, because there's a bit of nous and there's a bit of talent to kick the ball back and find the space, and I think that's maybe why Stirling Wolves are keeping the ball in hand so much. You need to get over that advantage line or put boot to ball and find a bit of turf.
Stirling Wolves held their own in the scrum for the most part. against their professional opposition, but when the benches were emptied and the heavyweights came on for Glasgow, the tables were turned quite spectacularly. It is an area of real strength for Watsonians at this level. Solid enough from the Wolves, but it's clean for Watsonians, and Lewis Berg, one of the most effective ball-carrying backs in the FOSROC Super Series. Louis Ball, Germany age grade international, goes around the corner. Baggett holding it back for Guthrie, and you will see that a lot. Angus Guthrie coming off that wing, looking for attacking opportunities. Davis.
Let's take him back, so no 50-22.
Yeah, this is exactly what gameplay from Watsonians we expected to see from Stirling. Excellent defence this time from Stirling, forcing Watsonians to go backwards. So Murdo McAndrew puts boot to ball.
It's always inside, always inside.
And it's a slicey one from Jackson.
You can see why, though. You can see why Watsonians went to 2 or 3 phases. They didn't make any advantage against an excellent Stirling Wolves defence. And rather than force 1 or 2 extra phases and perhaps commit an error,
thanks for checking, Murdo, it's all right.
Murdo McAndrew, all the experience in the world, slowed the ball down, put the ball up in the air with a good kick chase, and forces Stirling to put the ball out in their own half.
Guys, come on, numbers in.
First throw of the night for Cal Davis is a good one. Found Louis Ball, and Campbell Wilson peeling off, introducing Neil Irvin Hess. Slammed into Benedict Grant, number 8 on number 8. Ball next to have a little rumble.
No, they're good.
Baggett. Berg looking for options. Lee Miller wrapped up in the midfield. Jardine very quickly over him, snapping away at McAndrew too, but scrum half cleared it away to Wilson. Here he is again, Baggett. Held that invitingly up for Louis Ball to steam onto. Baggett once more, Pringle with him. Instead it goes to Berg, who coughs it up, and Benedict Grant does lose it forward as Connor Gordon looked to burst clear. And this Stirling defence has been a trademark of their play under Eddie Pollock this season.
Yeah, definitely improved. Not just an error from Lewis Berg. Yeah, it has to put that out of his mind right away. But it's probably forced from just when you look up and you see that there's no obvious space to attack. Maybe snatch the ball a little bit early, but it's 2 good defences so far. The one try that has been scored through rush night obviously came from a loose pass, and it was from opposition, from a turnover, from opposition possession. When teams have attacked outside that, both defences have been excellent so far.
Bind! Set! 3 collapsing. Number 3, your feet too far back and he's collapsing. Feet too far back, collapsing.
It's taken 8 minutes for us to have a penalty tonight, and it comes at scrum time against Gregor Skugel.
Stick him on the 10, on the 10.
Not a huge territory gain there from Holden. That is a safe touch. Gregor Hilson to throw in.
In or out, out.
I wonder if we'll see a drive here. Just another way of combating a really strong defence is to get a good drive and draw some more defenders in, create a bit of space.
Give yourself a decent gap.
Ian Kenny's wanting a gap, quite rightly. We were just right in front of it. There was no gap before they picked that up.
Hiddleston over the top to the marauding Benedict Grant. Well cut down by Campbell Wilson.
No.
Super chop tackle on a flying number 8. Here's Hiddleston, dealt with by Cal Davis. McGee delaying the pass, which allows the defence to come up quickly on James Pow. Holden, back for Jackson, and he's turned Lee Miller, who's scurrying back towards his own line, and it's an intelligent kick from the Stirling co-captain.
Yeah, good kick, good starter play from Benedict Grant, right over the top. A great throw from Hiddleston, well tackled by Campbell Wilson. I thought he could maybe have been penalised for holding on and going second effort, but not to be when the ball comes out. And because Stirling Wolves get the ball off a second pass, Craig Jackson's able to put it over his left foot, bring Lee Miller up the fullback, and then put the ball in behind them. Good play.
2 has been called. Can you drop one? Drop one. Guys, you have 2 9s now. Someone needs to go. No, you stay there. Thank you.
2-man line out, requiring some degree of choreography, and it's all a bit messy, but Neil Irvin Hess takes matters into his own sizable hands. And Baggett can hoof Watsonians away, and that is a pretty slick exit, all things considered.
Yeah, it's pretty clinical, isn't it? Over the top, quick ball, presented back, and Baggett clears up towards the 10-metre line. There's a wee huddle here. Benedict Grant, a couple of others still in moves, just walking into the line. Referees want to speed this up. They don't want huddles. They want the ball in play as quick as possible. We'll see what they were planning.
Well, there's the answer. Planning something of a full frontal assault on the Watsonians pack. Hiddleston with that green scrum cap, shielded by his colleagues. Penalty advantage Stirling. Hiddleston grappling forwards. McGee takes a tumble, and Ian Kenny will have to blow that up before poor old Kyle McGee gets splattered by some very eager Watsonians forwards.
Penalties here, guys. Number 2, side entry.
We mentioned the previous line that ended up being a good attack from Benedict Grant, but clever play this time from Stirling Wolves to call the line out drive to just bring some composure and control to the game.
On the line.
Winning that penalty.
On the line, please, guys.
And then popping it back into touch 5 metres from the touch. That's a better kick from Marcus Holden. The line has been good so far for Stirling. Another drive here.
Hiddleston hits Ferguson. Watsonians choose not to contest. They know what's coming. They know a great white wave of Stirling giants is aiming to sweep them aside. Ian Kenny ordering Watsonians out. The drive goes on and Hiddleston will score. It's a fabulously executed Stirling maul, and they trample the Watsonians pack and bag their first try of the evening.
Yeah, good play, excellent execution, good throw, one at the top of the jump without a contest from Watsonians, and it's all about the control. Look how quickly the players are in and bound and low, and although it's crabbing infield, they're still in control. They don't rush off the back of it. Hiddleston has the ball under control. Watsonians trying to get in the seam, trying to break the seam, trying to get involved to try and slow it down. After it was called for a stoppage once, that second drive came on with Hiddleston at the ball. All the control, all the composure, a good drive and a good score from the home side.
It's the first time I've seen Gregor Hiddleston without that green scrum cap.
He's trying to confuse us. Take it off as he scored the try. Good player. Plays in the back row as well. Really dynamic. You can say the primary function as a hooker is, well, one of the primary functions is that line out throw, and it's been excellent so far.
Holden levels the scores, 7 points apiece, 1 try apiece, 13 minutes played. And here's another look at how Watsonians were undone by this well-constructed Stirling maul.
And successful conversion, the score still goes.
Yeah, it's a control not to skip off the back of that or drive off the back of that on your own and become isolated as a Stirling Wolves player. Good cohesion, good understanding. Very difficult to stop.
Less cohesion in that loose pass from Stirling Wolves. They try and attack from deep on. They've gift-wrapped one for Guthrie. 10 seconds after the restarts, Stirling Wolves hand Watsonians another try, and Angus Guthrie, the Predator, pounces.
It's probably one of the quickest tries you'll see from the kickoff reception. Here we go, Baggett pumps it up in the air, and it's just so frustrating, isn't it? The ball's not dealt with. It's Connor Gordon who takes it initially and then tries to pass to Benedict Grant. The ball goes to deck. Hiddleston picks it up, then floats it out. And Watsonians do just keep coming forward. They don't back off. They keep coming forward. We spoke about that defensive line, that integrity in their line. They just march forward, and Guthrie walks onto the ball, and within 30 seconds of conceding, they're right back in front.
Angus Guthrie, such a prolific try scorer at this level. 7 he scored for Watsonians on their way to the championship title in 2022. A few more in the sprint series as well. Miller drills it between the posts. Stirling Wolves 7, Watsonians 14.
Here we go, just watch this. As Jardine and knocks it back, Hiddleston picks it up, and then watch the Watsonians defence just keep marching forward. Rooney up, then throws it, and it's an intercept from Guthrie. If in doubt, take it forward, use your footwork, get a fend, try and bring some control, but it's almost, Stirling Wolves try to get outside that good defensive line, and they're not able to do so. Two passes really have led to 2 tries for Watsonians.
Really not compounding that error with
don't kick it away, please.
a penalty. He was the tackler. He didn't release Angus Guthrie before nibbling away, I suspect, in a little bit of desperation to atone for the mistake. And the former Southern Knights man penalised, and that allows Jason Baggett to propel Watsonians downfield. That playmaking access, Chris, that Watsonians have is really compelling when you consider Dom Coetzer, who's not playing tonight. Really handy fullback, Lee Miller and Jason Baggett dovetailing at 10 and 12. There's a lot of experience and street smarts there.
It works really well, and one person, Joe Reynolds, last few years, he's been absolutely crucial. I'm not sure if he's involved this season, but there's so many good ball players in the crucial positions, and there's one of them here, this time picking up the mistake. Baggett sweeping up. Watsonians are into their shape already. There's a bit of space in the short side if they want to come back down it.
Murdo McAndrew has a look and gets the call from Beresford. Route 1, the preferred option. McAndrew drilling that off a Stirling Wolves shin.
You'll claim him,
Watsonians will have the line out by dint of the ricochet. Another clever ball player though, Chris, had a spell in the top 14 in Clermont's
as a youngster,
academy as a very young player in his teens. Now a personal trainer out with his semi-professional playing, but another example of a guy who can control a game for you.
Yeah, and the 2 kicks he's had so far from that area of the field have both resulted in, Watsonians winning the ball back. That's when he wanted to kick. O'Neill Hess has hit by Conor Gordon there.
Proper collision that, the 2 back rows, and Gordon straight back to his feet and making another shot.
No, the ball's available, guys. You push it into
Baggett out the back for Berg. Opportunity for Cecil. He had Guthrie with him, but Ferguson was up quickly, so too Hamilton. McKnight goes into play scrum half. Cal Davis, stand-in skipper for much of last season, with Lee Miller nursing a troublesome injury. Louis Ball, the relentless workhorse in the second row. Beresford tried to slip it on to Guthrie, but Stirling Wolves up quickly again. Good scrapping again from the Wolves to thwart a Watsonians attack, force the error.
Hughes! Knock on advantage over. Release! Stay on 6. No, it's not under his foot, it's under the other player's foot. It's under number 2's foot.
McGee hammers that box kick long, stropping on George Pringle, the Irish recruit for Watsonians. A lot of experience in the All-Ireland League with Ballynahinch. Hint of a knock-on there, not given or not seen by Ian Kenny. Watsonians come again. Baggett. Here's Berg trying to slide around the outside of Jardine, but well marshalled by the Wolves centre. Wilson forward off a Wolves hand in the tackle. What can Ross McKnight do with it? Caught round the ankles, but it takes 3 to drag the giant winger down.
Yeah, scrum advantage.
Wilson. McAndrew again happy to use the forwards and use Louis Ball.
Scrum advantage over.
Baggett, chip over the top. Holden covering, it's another interception. Lee Miller picks it off. Legs pumping, has he got the pace? He does! Stirling Wolves aim the gun at their foot and empty both barrels again. 3 Watsonians tries, but every one has a huge element of Stirling self-harm about it.
Well, it's 3 passes from Stirling Wolves that have contributed to 3 tries for for Watsonians.
Knock-on advantage.
The defence outside that has been excellent. It's the errors under pressure. Baggett's dink over, well covered, really well covered by Marcus Holden, but he doesn't have to give that pass. His back's to the ball, he can't see what's behind him. Yeah, the other players will be communicating in, but if you're in doubt, keep a hold of possession. Lee Miller can see that ball the whole time. He can see Marcus Holden the whole time, and he reads it perfectly well at the pace to get there. Just got away from Jackson as he tried to hunt him down, but yeah, 3 passes from Stirling Wolves have led to 3 tries for Watsonians in the opening 20 minutes.
Thanks, Dave.
Lee Miller turns his 5-pointer into 7. And there's a bit of a gap opening up. There's some Stirling daylights between these teams.
In the corner for a few minutes now.
And a frustrating moment for Marcus Holden, the Stirling co-captain.
I mean, it's more good defence. Connor Gordon must have made, I think, about 5 tackles in that phase alone. He's a brilliant ability to make a dominant tackle, then pop out the contact, get back in the channel for the next one. And then he'll be so frustrated after that hard work, that ethic, that real energy and effort to see the side under the sticks again.
I'm getting horribly triggering memories of Scotland v Italy 2007. 21-0 time after
What were you doing,
2 charge downs. It was a defining point of my childhood. Were
you just watching? I was a captain. Yeah. My memories are worse than yours. The game wasn't lost then, though. It was lost when we got to 21-18 and gave away a penalty. So that's what Stirling Wolves have to realise. Their defence is excellent, and they have to make the point that, listen, we're not doing a huge amount wrong here. It's just 3 errors that have really cost us. Keep a hold of possession, look after it, keep attacking at that.
And there's a good line break from Stevie Hamilton. Lively customer on the Stirling right wing. Watsonians have a player down, Campbell Wilson. They're defending with 14, and there are gaps now for James Pow to maraud into. Fabulous pass for Holden. Guthrie tracking him, can't make the tackle. And Holden almost immediately atones for that interception pass. His 3rd try in 2 matches. And the captain makes a positive contribution.
That's a brilliant try. We just said that, didn't we? We said they have to trust what they're doing. They're actually playing really well, other than those 3 crucial errors. This is a brilliant pass from Jackson to Pow. It's actually George Pringle who jumps in and tries to overread the play. Then Pow hits a perfect line, delivers a brilliant pass to Holden, who fends off Guthrie and scores in the corner. The creative element of that score, the execution of that score was perfect. That's still in shape. Hiddleston to Jackson, that's a long pass there as Pringle steps in, and this is second row James Pow, perfectly timed pass. Right on the button, and Holden has the strength and the pace to go over, and that's important for Stirling because of those quick tries conceded against them. It's really important that you hit back right away. It's an open game.
Holden then from wide on the right touchline. Barely fits in the camera shot, and he's pulled that one across the face.
You okay?
So it remains a 2-score game, but certainly Stirling folk a lot happier than they were a few minutes ago.
That was a marauding run by Stevie Hamilton, and then from that quick possession, Hiddleston with the ball out the back to Jackson. That's the pass there, and the line that breaks it, the defence. Then it's executed really well. Marcus Holden should have taken his time as well. I think he was still out of breath when he took that conversion. He should have eked it another 10 or 15 seconds or so.
Use. Yeah, inside, always inside. Use. No, always inside. Tackle was made inside.
Oh, charge down from Jamie Beresford's, and Stirling Wolves in a bit of a flap at the back again. Craig Jackson steers them out of trouble, and under the circumstances, that's a very decent kick.
It's actually good from Rory, not as well. Like, what's going through his mind? In the almost exact same position before he threw the pass, it was intercepted, but that was the right thing to do. Win the loose ball, it was one-on-one pressure, all on him. He had to get that ball away to Jackson, he did, and Jackson scrambled out to touch.
I know you heard me.
This is Ian Kenny, the referee, hurrying up the line out as well. The Watsonians players are in a huddle.
They win it uncontested through Cecil, and away comes Baggett. McKnight's lovely line from Pringle, pirouetting away from Hiddleston. Pringle back to Berg, and Berg for the try. That is a stunning first phase manoeuvre from Watsonians. And they wrap up the bonus points on 25 minutes.
It's a brilliant score. Really well executed. Brilliant throw right to the back. Cecil wins it off the top, and then there's the tail-end break, this time from Pringle. Spins out the first tackle, but the support play floods through Lewis Berg. And it was an excellent pass from Ross McKnight. The defence sat because they assumed he was going to carry hard off the tail of the line out, but he didn't. He slipped the ball out to Pringle, who hit a lovely line, spun through. And it's really good attack from the delivery of the line out to the pass, and the time of the pass, and the angles run, the support play. Good play from Watsonians.
Miller from straight in front adds 2 more points to the Watsonians haul. 4 tries, 4 conversions.
There's a throw. There's a win for Cecil. It's really, really quick. And then watch this. Baggett passes to McKnight, and the defence immediately stopped because I think he's going to hold it, bite in a little bit. Pringle finds a space on the outside. Berg finishes off under the post.
Time off, guys.
He looks a good signing, George Pringle. A lot of experience over in Ireland with the EIL, which is a good standard of rugby.
Yeah, he looks as if good awareness. He'll be frustrated with that last decision that he stepped in for the try, but he's more than atoned for it there with his power through contact. But he's been in the kind of backfield positions and offered himself in counter-attack once or twice as well. A real dynamic runner, hard to put down.
Seb Cecil has been patched up, so Craig Jackson can get us going again. Suddenly Stirling Wolves chasing a 16-point deficit. Andrew to Irvin Hess, winner of Scotland under-20 caps all the way back in 2015. Stalwart of the club scene.
Taken back, guys, taken back.
Baggett can't go straight to touch. Hands one on Benedict Grant and Glenn Bryce.
50-22 is on. Stop,
Arrowing
9.
one downfield himself.
Stay. Okay.
This is Miller.
50-22 is on. Stay.
Jackson. 2 wily playmakers trading blows. Baggett now covering the backfield. Stays inside the 22. And Glenn Bryce can keep it in and work his way towards halfway. Jackson goes into play 9. Pow. Impressive carrier, the Kirkcaldy man. 26 years of age. Really good option in the back 5 of the scrum for Stirling. Here they come again through Craig Jardine, straightening up, taking on Baggett. Irvin Hess and Baggett combined, but fabulous offload from Jardine. Hiddleston to Grant. And there are plenty Stirling bodies away to the left if they can move it. It's all got a little bit slow now, but Jackson goes flat. Salmon. Again, it's Glenn Bryce offering himself.
Watsonians are doing well to slow possession down. Still into position pretty well as Jackson puts his boot to ball as well over Pringle's head.
It's going to set up for Pringle. Lots of pressure from Knott. Pringle makes a very good relieving kick.
Yeah, it's good from Jackson as well. I just mentioned Pringle in the backfield. He obviously understands the positions really well. They're covering the kind of fluency of the Watsonians battling with so many players playing, not out of position, but able to play different positions. But yeah, Jackson had to put boot to ball there because Watsonians, anytime Stirling Wolves got the momentum on, Watsonians were able to slow possession down, find their width in defence. And although Jackson kicked it to Pringle, Pringle puts it out, and Stirling Wolves can restart from the line out.
Taken by Benedict Grant. And Stirling again looking to eat up a couple of metres in the Watsonians half. Jamie Beresford looking to get pause on that, can't quite do so. He was concerned what he was doing was illegal. Now he's reefed it away, but McKee burgles it right back again. Holden changing direction. Jackson tricking it down the touchline. It's ricocheting for Hamilton, not quite. Not quite. All a bit slapstick, all a bit bonkers. Hamilton claiming he was taken without the ball.
For me, you're juggling. Okay.
Yeah, if you're juggling, it didn't to be in control position. Again, it's a kick through that causes the difficulty. Guthrie's position is excellent, but it's so hard to deal with the ball at your foot like that. And because he tries to juggle the ball, is deemed to be in possession, so Murdo McAndrew's fair, but it doesn't matter, they were in touch anyway. Murdo McAndrew's no happy. But again, it's just what Stirling Wolves got really narrow. Craig Jackson came down the short side and Marcus Holden was the first receiver, so they had to come back this near side. And because there was a defensive wall there, the ball goes through, and it is hard for Guthrie to pick up. Good kick from Jackson, thumped hard at the bootlaces of the left winger. I did think for a second it was going to pop up for Stevie Hamilton as well.
The way the tries in this game are coming, you wouldn't put it past them. You've been impressed by Craig Jackson, Chris? He's had his injury troubles over the past few years. Was here for the back end of last season after a long spell in charge of, or as captain of the Knights.
Yeah, it's just so much experience, Craig Jackson. He fits in so well, and I like how he's figured out how to play the Watsonians defence. A little bit frustrated with that first pass, obviously, that went loose. But he seems to be taking the ball as a second receiver out the back. Gregor Hiddleston fed him it for the build-up to Stirling Wolves' second try. So he has such an influence in the game. And he'll never stop talking. He'll order everybody around and keep everyone in the right place. And along with Marcus Holden, who's played a lot of 10 as well, they've two good decision makers and games players. But they're not doing a lot wrong. They're just those three crucial errors against Watsonians who've been outstanding. They've been excellent so far. But it's actually, I would say the game's closer than the score suggests.
Crouch! Bind!
10 minutes of the first half left.
Set!
6 tries, split 4-2 in favour of the visitors. Stirling looking to get the nudge on at the scrum, but now they must use it. McGee, Holden, straightening, and again committing 3 tacklers, but did he lose the ball? No, Stevie Hamilton has it back. Somehow Stirling Wolves retain possession. This is not finding a little gap. Just shackled by Cecil. McGee for George Breeze. Playing loose head today, but happy on either side of the scrum. Jackson had a trundle. Hiddleston. And bunctious ball carrier Gregor Hiddleston. Not wants it again, not gets it. Big double shot, but not spins out of it. McGee, James Pow, languid running style, sits down Seb Cecil, but loses his footing. Hamish Ferguson through the ruck, hands it on to Hiddleston, up to the 5 metres line. McGee, Grant, the flamboyant inside dummy. McGee again, Rory not again, his 3rd carry of this attacking set for the Wolves. Hiddleston gets another touch. Good offload too to Jardine. Jardine slippery and powerful. He's held up a metre out. Well, that was acrobatic, but it's been knocked on. It slipped agonisingly through Stirling fingers. I think it was Benedict Grant or Hamish Ferguson leaping through the middle of that ruck.
Yeah, some excellent defence from Watsonians, and it'll be frustrating for Stirling Wolves that, because I mean, it's you can see it was knocked on from here. The build-up play was excellent. They were really putting pressure on the excellent defence, and Watsonians they got closer and closer to the line. This is interesting from Craig Pringle. If he tries to drive any further and get held up, it's a goal line drop up. He actually withdraws, pulls himself back, and then this is just a wee bit over the top, really, isn't it? It's very rarely on. I think if you keep possession once or twice more, you're probably going to create a better opportunity than that. Credit to the Watsonians defence. Gregor Hiddleston carried about 4 or 5 occasions. Rory not carried about 4 or 5 occasions. Hamish Ferguson, but they're all stopped short.
Stay on 9.
Big Stirling scrum, but Watsonians get it away safely to Baggett. And Baggett lashes it into touch just outside that Stirling 22. There's been a wonderful flow to this game, Chris. By my count, and I'm not great at maths, but by my count, 2 penalties. That's all we've had.
It's been open, hasn't it? We said that at the start. It's two teams who want to attack. It's a dry night. It's a calm night. There's there's an attacking structure to how both teams play, and you know, if you play like that, there's going to be errors, and errors sometimes brings excitement. It certainly brought tries for Watsonians. We've got a bonus point within 20 odd minutes.
Regathered.
It's a little bit loose at the back from Stirling Wolves, but they have regathered it cleanly, and Rory Knott is making a beeline for the posts. Brilliant ball off the deck to Breeze. McGee missing Grant to Jackson. There's the gap. There's the handoff. Not quite. Inches in it.
Penalty
Stirling
advantage,
on that
15 offside.
Watsonians line again. They have the penalty advantage.
Penalty advantage.
Rory Knott had a sniff. Marcus Holden for the double. He's there again. Whenever Stirling Wolves are in need of a try, in need of salvation, they can look to their Kiwi Colossus, Marcus Holden. And that's 4-2 for the big centre.
It's a break from Craig Jackson this time. We said just forced that last opportunity still in Wolves, but they got another from that line out. And it's a big players against Rory, not making big carries time and time again. George Breeze got a wonderful offload and kept the ball alive. Kyle McGee choosing to go down the short side to Marcus Holden, who finds it. Space inside Guthrie and reaches the line for his second try in his opening half. There's Jackson ghosting through. We said just before, didn't we, how much of an influence he has in the game, whether it's his kicking game, his communication, now his running game. And again, Watsonians fire the bodies in, they keep the line intact until that moment. Lee Miller gets done on the inside a little bit, coming up quicker than Angus Guthrie, and that man there, Holden, gets his second.
The distinctive Marcus Holden gate does not yield 2 points this time. So Watsonians still with an 11-point lead. 4 tries to 3, but those conversions and the position of those tries helping with those conversions,
Hands on the ground, that one.
giving them a pretty handsome lead.
I didn't really see, to be honest with you. But definitely hands on the ground first, that one. So I didn't want to reward you.
Benedict Grant's on the rampage. Not an easy man to tackle.
Use 9.
McGee, who finished a fabulous breakaway try against Glasgow last weekend.
No,
Awkward
regathered.
box kick. Baggett takes it at the second time of asking. McAndrew Davis. Spent one of his younger formative rugby years, Coastal Taranaki Club in New Zealand. Actually worked on the Barrett family farm with Bowden, Scott, Geordie and co.
It's taken back in.
Bryce, long and on. Baggett underneath it. Stirling up quickly. That's ricocheting horribly off Connor Gordon. Back to Angus Guthrie. Gordon with what must be his 250th tackle of the game. Beresford. Mervyn Hess, Miller, injured players in midfield, and Ian Kenny is going to just bring things to a halt because both teams have a man down.
Restart Watson's ball here.
Yeah, it came in the same instance. James Pow,
Yeah,
I think it was legal as he came through to put pressure on Murdo McAndrew as he put the box kick away, but Kenny caught Murdo McAndrew's blind spot. I think they both. I think it's maybe a shoulder injury for Pow. I was a little bit worried about Murdo McAndrew because it almost looked as if his leg got caught underneath the challenge from Pow. But that's Ian Kenny saying it wasn't a standing leg at all. He actually did hit him in the side. As a consequence, he just twisted a little bit Murdo McAndrew.
That ball was way out though.
Beautiful nights here in Stirling. The sun beginning to set over the hills. It is such a picturesque venue for rugby, for any sport on a Friday evening. And the punters are lapping it up too. James Pow's been impressive today.
He's been good, hasn't he?
Set up one of those tries with a fantastic left-handed spin pass.
But he's carried really well, and he offered himself time and time again. There's been a lot of good performances actually from both sides.
Well, happily both players are fit to continue, although young Hector Paterson was warming up beneath us. He's the replacement Watsonian scrum half.
big an issue out of
but
it.
not required quite yet. And this has been a tasty battleground all half. Breeze, Hiddleston and Tamositis against Davison, Davis
Binds.
and Skugel.
Set.
Clean platform for Watsonians. Baggett, Pringle stepping and introducing Miller. Now Guthrie, vicious step off the wing. McKnight inside him. Guthrie tried to go it alone, but Glenn Bryce lassoed his ankles. Cecil carrying hard into Benedict Grant. Beresford, Wilson. Opportunity away to the left with Pringle and Guthrie again. Can't quite rebuff the attentions of Craig Jarden, but Jarden doesn't roll, so free play for Watsonians. Louis Ball shunted into contact by teammate Beresford. Campbell Wilson, Baggett, Lewis Berg arcing round the outside. Shot down in the tackle by McGee. But now an opportunity down the blind side, and Ross McKnight can't take it. Ben Salmon could, and we'll go back for the infringement.
So we've got one here or one over there.
Two options, two penalties. Angus Guthrie performing really well.
Number 6.
A couple of occasions there, bursting through. Craig Jarden with an excellent tackle, but he didn't roll away. This was the end of it, where Ross McKnight couldn't quite keep a hold of it, but we're already on penalty advantage. There's two penalties. There's one just towards the 15-metre line on the left-hand side, and the other one's closer to the post. That'll determine, well, that'll dictate which one they take, really. If they're going to kick a goal, you're obviously going to take the one more centrally. And if I was Watsonians, I think I would probably take the shot at goal, just stretch that lead. Stirling's momentum. Yeah, there's Lee Miller there. Going to have a look at just to the right-hand side of the post. Stirling Wolves have gained momentum in the last, probably 15 minutes or so, and it's important for Watsonians to chip this over before the end of the half.
Lee Miller will have one eye on the clock, big scoreboard behind him. He lets it go to within 30 seconds of half-time.
30 seconds.
Before banging over that penalty.
I'll give you a shout once it's time up.
And he has been flawless off the tee tonight.
I'll let you know.
Miller 5 from 5. And he takes his personal tally up to 15 points.
Good decision to take the 3 points there. It's a trend that's kind of gone out of the game in some respects. And you obviously say, Watsonians, you're comfortably in the lead, but I think it's really important just to take those 3.
Well played Stevie Hamilton to tip that back into Jarden, who is a combative outside centre. Final play of the half. It was so crucial that Stirling Wolves won that restart. Last chance to end this half with points, with a try. Here's Jackson cutting back into the heavy traffic, and he has won the penalty advantage. High tackle. Trailing Watsonians arm in there. Hiddleston inside to Grant. We're on is the cry from the Stirling Wolves coaching box. Marius Tamositis didn't hear that call
penalty number 7, high.
and opted for the more industrial route, but we will go back for the high shot from Wilson on Jackson.
Now I think I'm going to say the opposite here. I think in terms of the game, I think Stirling should kick this to the corner. We've scored from a driving line already. I think if I'm a Watsonians player, I'm hoping that Stirling probably take the shot at 3. But I think this could have a big influence in a bigger influence in the game if you go to the corner and you're successful. Holden does do that. I think that's the right decision. Contrast to what I said moments ago, but that's because the two teams are in different positions on the scoreboard. I think that's a wise decision. Let's see if they can execute.
These feel like significant moments.
In, please, Stirling.
90 seconds into the red at the end of the first half. 14 points the difference. One more try would bag Stirling Wolves a bonus point. The drive broken by Hiddleston and Holden, who's on a hat-trick, remember. Oh, big turnover, very big turnover.
Guys, penalty here.
And the penalty does go Watsonians' way. Baggett and Berg were in there, and that's crucial.
Yeah, really well done by Jason Baggett. Stirling Wolves didn't really want to get that ball away, but they couldn't get the ball in the maul, so quite rightly they smuggled away Hiddleston. And as a result, Holden's just isolated a little bit back. It was brilliant in the defence, the tackle and the jackal. And that's half-time.
But what a half it's been. 8 tries, split 5-3 in favour of Watsonians. An entertaining contest, as we expected. A lot of attacking wit and skill on show. A couple of defensive errors from the Stirling Wolves, but they are still in the fights with just 14 points between the teams at the interval. Half-time at Bridgehaugh. Stirling Wolves 17, Watsonians Rugby 31.
Plenty of options for your half-time food and drinks this evening. Just either side of the turnstile block here at Bridgehaugh, you've got the beer and burger bar just to the right-hand side, and to the left, towards the Wallace Monument, you have the bean tin for your coffees and your pizzas this evening. So plenty of food and drink options tonight. If you want to get the official match programme for this evening's match, then just scan one of the many QR codes across the ground tonight. It's completely free, and you can read the programme on your phone or your tablets. Just a big thank you once again to our main sponsors here at Stirling Wolves this season, our main sponsor Wolf Creek Distillers, and also our partners Belhaven Brewery, Johnson Carmichael, Douglas Park BMW, JM Architects, ESP Physio, Kilgannon Motors, University of Stirling Sports, and also to Nike Kit Locker as well.
Well, certainly no shortage of first half action to chew over. And we can look back at some of the best bits of that entertaining, enterprising first 40 minutes. This, great work from Stirling Wolves, Chris. And then pretty quickly they cough up possession, and Ross McKnight finds a way to tow the ball forwards and scurry all the way home with just 2 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, it was almost like an open phase of play, wasn't it? Both teams actually defending pretty well this time, and you can see the space where Craig Jackson still moves, want to get the ball to. It's a 3-on-1 there against Ross McKnight, but the ball doesn't go to hand. Ross McKnight's first to react. He follows in with, I think it was actually, I think it was Jason Baggett inside him actually in the defensive line. So he followed him in. He mirrored what Jason Baggett did. You might see at the top of your screen there was Baggett jumping. If Ross McKnight sits back there, you've got a 3-on-1. He goes with it. He doesn't know the ball's going to hit the deck. He has to read that inside defender, go with him. As a wee toe on the ball, flicks it up, pops it down, and in 2 minutes, the away side are 7 points to nil up.
Well, 10 minutes later, the Wolves did respond in slightly more conventional fashion. Hooker, Gregor Hiddleston with what these days is a classic Hooker's try, but it's a very, very well-structured and well-constructed maul, this.
It was well done, and Stirling Wolves wrestled themselves back into the game after that early error. He won a couple of penalties, got that driving maul going. There's a bit of patience in there as well. You know, once or twice that you could almost expected Stirling Wolves to shear off. The referee had called that once. So if they move it again, then don't produce a ball, they'll be turned over. But they kept their discipline. They kept the ball in there. Gregor Hiddleston always in control of the back and gets his reward.
More bizarre scenes though, straight from the restart after that try. Have a look at this. A bit scrappy, first of all, from Stirling Wolves, and then the ball handed on a plate to the predatory Angus Guthrie right about here. And in he strolls for Watsonian second.
Yeah, Watsonian's first 3 tries came from Stirling Wolves passes. And you can understand again, like, well, it's messy from Stirling Wolves, but they're trying to outflank a defence. But when you're passive, when you're going across the front of defence, it's never really on, especially on your own third, especially 15 seconds after scoring. And Angus Guthrie, similar to Ross McKnight early on for the first try, just stays in that defensive line, keeps the defensive integrity and comes forward.
Well, more Stirling anguish here. Good cover initially from Marcus Holden, and then bang, pops it up. Lee Miller read it all the way and had just about enough gas to escape the clutches of Craig Jackson and scamper home.
Yeah, more good defence initially from Stirling Wolves, forcing the chip. Marcus Holden does really well to cover it. He reads the chip, he gets back, he covers it, but he's no idea that Lee Miller's so close behind him. He probably gets a call, Marcus Holden, from whoever it was outside him, but then he should just keep a hold of it. He can't see it. But then, well, more chaos. Stirling Wolves hit back, and this was a cracker, Jamie. Attacking shape, Hiddleston out the back to Craig Jackson. Powell with a lovely outline, and then a perfectly timed pass to Marcus Holden. And this was only 2 minutes after Lee Miller's try, and they hit back right away.
Yeah, some redemption for Marcus Holden, who gets another try in just a couple of replays time. 4 tries in 2 matches for the marauding New Zealander. But the pass from Powell was superb. Watsonians weren't done yet though, and this is a terrific first phase manoeuvre to bring up the bonus point try.
Yeah, the first 3 tries were, you know, as we know from Stirling Wolves, say this one is absolutely created and structured and delivered so well. Cal Davis with a throw perfectly to the top of the jump. I think it's Cecil who wins it, and then Ross McKnight comes on that hard line, expecting defence, expect him to run. Pringle spins through the tackle, and the support play from Lewis Berg on the inside. Really well created, well executed score from Watsonians, and that was a bonus point after 22 minutes.
We had to wait 10 more minutes for a try, believe it or not. It felt like an eternity given the way this game's gone, but typically it was Marcus Holden again finding a way to pierce through the Watsonians defence and keep Stirling Wolves in touch. There he goes, in at the corner.
Yeah, and prior to this, Stirling Wolves put boot to ball on a few occasions. They played a territory game. They had to try and do something to stop I suppose the game getting away from them, and they kicked really intelligent. They kicked well, they've got good attack and shape, and from that they had 1 or 2 opportunities. One just before that they failed to take, and then they got over the line with Holden for his second try for more good attack and shape, attacking options. Couldn't add the 2 conversions from out wide. Lee Miller kicked a late penalty, and they ended that first half, and then Stirling Wolves had another opportunity 5 metres from line they didn't take. So yeah, a pretty energetic first half.
Yeah, really entertaining first 40 minutes. 14 points the difference, 17 points to 31 in favour of the visitors from the Scottish capital. But we were saying off air there, Chris, it doesn't necessarily feel like a 14-point game.
No, I mean, yes, the mistakes have been costly, and ultimately that's rugby, isn't it? That's the high-pressure environment that is rugby, and you have to strike and you have to take your opportunities when they come. Now, these opportunities may come from opposition errors, and that's what's been the case. But outside those errors, I don't think anybody's played poorly. I think both teams have had really good aspects to the game. It's just those kind of obvious errors that, yes, of course, is the determining factor of the game at this point. But both teams have had periods of good defence, good attack. It's just, I keep going back to those kind of key errors. But credit to Stirling, because they wouldn't have folded in the first half, but they could have fallen out of touch with Watsonians, because Watsonians have really been, pretty powerful. But on a couple of occasions, the home sides wrestled themselves back in, and as always, the first 5 minutes in the second half will be crucial. I think both squads have got pretty strong benches as well. There's Angus Fraser to come on for, I think Gregor Hiddleston's been outstanding, but Angus Fraser to come on for Stirling, who's in top form, the Glasgow Warriors over the last couple of weeks. And then you look over to, you've mentioned him already, Hector Paterson, who I think can make an impact this come half for Watsonians. So there's a bit of quality on both sides, and we'll see how this second 40 takes us.
And it could, of course, be a significant night as far as those all-important points on the table are concerned as well. Heading into this one, the Wolves and the Bears were locked together on 10 points in first and second place at the top of the table. Watsonians and Heriot's not far behind them on 8, with the Bears and the struggling Southern Knights propping up the FOSROC Super Series sprint standings. But a win for Watsonians tonight, a bonus point win at that, as it would move them on to 13. Let's see them overtake the Wolves with just 2 more fixtures to go before the playoffs. Stirling Wolves have 40 minutes to do something about that. Marcus Holden for the second week in a row on the prowl for a hat-trick. And Stevie Hamilton heavily involved in the Stirling Wolves' late flurry towards the end of that half. But it is Watsonians in command. It is they who lead, and it is they who will look to continue to exert a stranglehold on their host at Bridgehaugh. Jackson and Stirling get this decisive 40 minutes underway. The high, wickedly spinning kick from the borderer. And it is Stirling Wolves' ball. George Breeze. Big old collision that. Jackson, Bryce in the line. Here's Holden to Connor Gordon. Had a crack at his big brother Tom, the Glasgow Warrior, last weekend. Great battle on the open side flank that was. Benedict Grant slipped a tackle. Bryce just feeds Holden. There's that trademark bump and trundle. But Watsonians gang tackle the captain.
Ball's live.
And drag him over the touchline.
Well, Marcus Holden saying he threw the ball off Ross McKnight, I think, as he got dragged into touch. We'll have another look here. Opting to come back down that short set, breaks the initial tackle, but then Irvin Hess coming from inside. Ross McKnight on the outside, drag Holden into touch. I think he's taking that out. It should be a Watsonians throw. He's just trying to pull a fast one, Wayne Kenny.
Oh, well stolen. James Pow, who's having a whale of a game. And Hiddleston loops it away quickly to Holden. And Stirling Wolves looking to catch Watsonians out here. This is Hamilton up the wing. Cuts back inside, running directly at Angus Guthrie. McGee, Hiddleston to Grant. McGee once more, looking for heavy runners. Finds Marios Tamosaitis, Lithuanian international. Former European kettlebell champion. And another intelligent Craig Jackson kick as Wolves steaming after it. Does Holden gather? No. Agonising for the Stirling co-skipper. Very, very close to a hat-trick try.
It was a brilliant kick from Jackson. I'm not sure if it's a knock-on or if it...
Yeah, time's up.
We'll have another look at it as it pops up. Oh, it is a knock-on, but I think he'll be frustrated that Marcus Holden would keep a hold of that. It was Lee Miller that came over, did just enough to...
I'm sure I'd find that I was wrong, but that's what I've seen at the time, so sorry, Marcus.
Yeah, to disrupt Marcus Holden, but it's a good kick again, because that defence is excellent from Watsonians. Just interesting, how are you a kettlebell champion, what do you need to do with kettlebells? Do you lift them? I know you lift them, but how do you become a kettlebell champion?
Well, I can tell you from my extensive experience of competing in all manner of kettlebell competitions, I think there's a combination of kettlebell exercises. Which, no, I want to stop there. It just sounded good as a fact about
excellent
an international player. But yeah, he's clearly a big old unit, isn't he, Big Marius?
Certainly throwing a few kettlebells with a look. That'd be good though, wouldn't it? Your pen profile, kettlebell champion.
Well, he played for the Stirling County team for a few years, pre-Super 6 as it was, Super Series as it is now, and they were frantically alerting the Lithuanian authorities that they had a very handy tight head prop. But it's only the last couple of years that he has won international honours for his country. And now trying to anchor that Stirling scrum. Not doing a bad job. Irvin Hess in trouble.
He's done well. Neil Irvin Hess pick up that loose ball on his own line.
Baggett's in the pockets. And he puts it down the middle. Here's Bryce. Jersey still a bright shade of white. Stevie Hamilton, vicious sidestep inside George Pringle. McGee challenging those fringe defenders, looking for help and finding it through Knott. McGee once more. There is Big Marius. McGee working hard to get that ball back.
With a chance.
Here's Holden, big old sidestep. Still going, Marcus Holden. Stirling Wolves do have a penalty advantage. Jackson whips it away to Hamilton. Cutting inside, well tackled by Berg.
He's offside.
And we will require that penalty advantage to be activated.
Yeah. Lewis Berg could be in trouble here. Yep. It's a yellow card.
Yep.
He made the tackle, made an excellent tackle initially, and then hadn't got himself back on side. And then
he's outside. Cynical. That's cynical.
Cynical because he never got back on side before making the next tackle. And there was a bit of space for, I think it was Kyle McGee to run into up that short side, and Lewis Berg just never even got back to his feet. He just stayed there, made the second tackle, and he's going to spend the next 10 minutes in the sin bin.
Sharp refereeing that from Ian Kenny to identify that the opportunity for a line break or a try scoring opportunity was prevented by Lewis Berg.
And we're also on a penalty advantage at the time as well, so double penalty in that play.
Pow is the option, and Power is the choice.
Leg, 5, penalty advantage.
For Stirling Wolves, another penalty advantage. And Ian Kenny's going to have to bring them back.
Man there, so we play the penalty here. Number 5, lifting the leg. Not the same ball, right? So
it's a good start to the second half for the home side, just applying pressure, but they need to get points on the board. This is a tackle here. It's initially a good tackle from Berg and Stevie Hamilton, but he doesn't get to his feet, whether he's taking a bump or not. And as Kyle McGee spots that, cynically brings him down and quite a yellow carded.
3 Watsons, sub 3.
Watsonians are making the first change of the night, and it is Bobby Bratton, who's just come back from a little loan stint with Doncaster Knights in the Championship. Very sturdy, tight head prop. Coming on for Gregor Skugel, and of course the Scotland age grade international. Bobby Bratton, lots of experience, a lot of semi-pro scrums under his belt. Was a try scorer in the Super 6 Championship final last year. And Stirling Wolves go again. And they set that drive again. And it is beginning to cause Watsonians to creak a little. Hiddleston will be waiting for his moments. And they burl it infield. McGee releases Jackson. Misses out Hamilton. Here's an opportunity for Ben Salmon wide on the left. 1v1, 1v4 in the end. Watsonians find a way of stopping him. McGee, Hiddleston. Good double shot on the hooker. McGee again. Pow juggling, but it's worked. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. Hamish Ferguson denied. The ball went forwards. And Watsonians survive.
Brilliant scramble defence from Watsonians. However, if the pass had been sharper, if the pass had been more accurate, 2 passes had been more accurate for Stirling, I think they would have found the spare bit of space. 2 long passes allowed Watsonians to scramble, and Louis Ball it was who put a massive tackle in on Gregor Hiddleston. It slowed everything down. There's the knock-on from Pau. Well, the forward pass, I suppose you could call it, to Hamish Ferguson. It clearly goes forward, but before that was two brilliant pieces of defence. The first one was by, I think it was George Pringle, filtering over or flooding over from the inside to make a tackle on Ben Salmon. And then secondly, as Gregor Hiddleston, who's been outstanding, thundered onto the ball, he was met by Louis Ball, who stopped him dead. Big moments, and great defence from Watsonians.
Stirling Wolves attacking in the shadow of the Wallace monuments. Watsonians holding firm for now. Still a 14-point game, 6 minutes into this new half. Still 4 tries to 3 in Watsonians' favour. McAndrew. Baggett.
Stay, Seb. No, you're not.
Big steepling kick from Jason Baggett. Doesn't quite have the legs to hit touch. Glenn Bryce can't get away from Pringle. Stevie Hamilton stuttering and stooping. McGee. Pau. Again, 2 Watsonians players meet James Pau, but McGee found the space. Hiddleston couldn't take the ball with him. Good connection on the half volley, but we'll go back for the
Wasn't a bad finish.
The Watsonian scrum
in the half turn. Actually, good identification. Brilliant kick chase initially from Watsons. That's the second time that Jason Baggett's gone long up the middle. Excellent kick chase, but then Kyle McGee finds a bit of space next to the breakdown. That man there, Hiddleston, first to react, almost gets to the end of the blind offload as he was hit. He was under pressure, just taking the catch. And then half volley on the spin. Not bad effort.
Multi-talented, our young rugby players these days.
For all the pressure, sorry Jamie, for all the pressure that Stirling have had since the start of the second half, what 7 minutes, they've not been able to capitalise on the scoreboard, and that's down to some excellent defence from Watsonians.
Stirling Wolves ended an 11-month wait for a home win at semi-pro level last weekend. Won just 2 matches out of 10 in the championship. Both of those coming away from home at the Green Yards and at Megatland against the Knights and the Bears. And much more successful in the sprint edition last year. They hadn't won here at Bridgehaugh since late May 2022. In danger of another home reverse. McAndrew. Baggett.
Up the middle again.
Watsonians down to 14, remember. Lewis Berg in the bin for another 5 minutes or so. McAndrew allows that to bounce. Bryce quickly upon him. McAndrew recovers well. Shows his own class.
Give Watson's the line.
Yeah, it's quite good management from Stirling that time. The ball long up the middle, and then don't try and force anything.
Come on, guys, let's go.
Kick it back, and then for kicking, returning down the middle, it means the kick to touch from Murdo McAndrew. They want to get the ball off the field, as you just said, down to 14 men. It's a much longer kick from the centre of the field, obviously, so it's less likely to make territory gain, and it allows Stirling to throw in on the 10-metre line.
And again, it's a bit untidy from the Stirling Wolves. Kyle McGee has to pick up the pieces, flirting with that touchline. Hiddleston rips the pass away to Grant. Spinning into contact. Released, got up again. Seb Cecil very nearly poaching. Hiddleston, another carry for the young hooker. He's been everywhere tonight. Jackson. Holden, now space, now opportunity knocks for Stirling, and Marcus Holden commits Neil Irvin Hess. Grant out the back for Jackson. It's that big looping pass that Bryce takes on the bounce. Can't skirt around the outside of Pringle.
Release 10.
Tomositis bashing into Beresford. There's that kettlebell strength we talked about.
Back foot too.
More people should do kettlebells, I think, Chris.
Kettlebell championships.
Jackson with the crossfielder, sitting awkwardly for McAndrew. Bounces out of play, and the pressure will come on that Watsonians line out.
Yeah, it's good pressure again from Stirling, but from their perspective, they need points. They need to strike when Watsonians down to 14 men. They need to strike when they've had, you know, the first, well, really 10 minutes. It's all been down this end of the field. But they're still trailing considerably on the scoreboard.
Keep a bit of pace in the game.
Cal Davis hits Beresford. And Watsonians looking to manoeuvre their way out of their own red zone.
No, you've trapped him in. Cal, you've trapped him in there.
McAndrew, Baggett. A familiar refrain. Towering kick from Jason Baggett. Hamilton fields it. Bryce. Ben Salmon. Haven't seen a great deal of the under-20s winger. Holden takes that well. Watsonians asking the question as to whether that was a forward pass. It wasn't. Gordon down the blind side. Glenn Bryce against Pringle. Pringle's too quick, but it's a brilliant pass to Grant. And another one to McGee. On to Gordon. Superb interplay from Stirling. 6 or so metres out, but they've lost possession. And Watsonians have it back.
Hughes.
McAndrew finds the warm embrace of Neil Irvin Hess.
Hughes.
Baggett once more standing deep. And again, with a fine touch finder. Stirling wanting up that tempo. Still attacking with a man up. Hamilton off to Jackson. There's the inside ball to Jardine. Hamilton gets another touch. Rory Knott was steaming in for the offload. It didn't come his way. Grant scoops it out. Breeze. Jackson again, that wide looping bridge pass. Glenn Bryce cutting inside.
Release 6.
Watsonians defending very stoutly, even without Lewisberg. Grant shovels it on, no look, and that could be costly. Hoovered up by Angus Guthrie.
Steele's good, release Cal.
Hiddleston's got it again.
Okay, no. Steele was good.
Oh, hang on. Gregor Hilton has turned that. Rory Knott, Hamish Ferguson, and that could be a yellow card.
Play advantage.
Well, I wonder if Ian Kenny could have let that play continue. It is a yellow card. Watsonians are going to be down to 13 men. But I wonder if Stirling will ask whether.
Probably should have played advantage.
And I think Ian Kenny's just admitting that.
Probably should have played advantage.
Brilliant turnover from Hiddleston, and then Ian Kenny just apologising. It's ball's hit down by Lee Miller, isn't it? And then, I mean, it's in Jackson's hands. It's quick as well. I mean, he's probably just so cemented in his own mind that it's a yellow card. He goes early, but he's made the apology. That's fine. But I'm just wondering, is Lewis Baird back on? Or is he's still off? He's got
another 20 seconds left on his sin-binning period. I don't know if they're going to bring him back on because Scott King, who is a centre, is stripped beneath us.
There was a brilliant attack from Stirling, moves up that short side, and some incredible defence as well from Watsonians yet again as Scott King's just joining us, Jamie.
So back-to-back yellow cards, 20 minutes almost exactly. Half of this second 40. Watsonians must negotiate with 14 men. Berg off for the duration, Miller off for 10, Scott King on in the centres.
White to ground.
Stirling trip themselves up at the maul. Now they utilise the backs, and Holden. Cal Davis gets over it. Cal Davis isolates Holden and wins a big penalty for Watsonians.
He's a big player. He has been for the last 3 or 4 years, Cal Davis. He always plays well. Always has a big influence in the game. And he's quick as a flash over the ball there. It's Holden that goes in. And yeah, that's... Well, he's quick over the ball, but it didn't have to be because the support was slow to get to Holden. But it's the same story, isn't it? Stirling have played some wonderful stuff at the start of the second half, but they've yet to score. Outstanding defence on 2 or 3 occasions from Watsonians. But they're going to have to do it with 14 men for another 10 minutes, as you say, the second yellow card. And you can see what Stirling Wolves are trying to do. They're trying to keep the tempo in the game. They're trying to bring less structure to the game. They're trying to punish Watsonians for being down to 14 men. But that scramble defence is just up to it so far from Watsonians. It's been outstanding.
And it is literally back-to-back yellows. As Miller went off, Scott King came on in place of Berg. It is 20 consecutive minutes playing with 14.
And this is what they'll do. They'll take as many minutes out as possible, slow the ball, get a good kick chase.
Glenn Bryce assessing his options. A lot of space in that backfield. Jason Baggett tracking across. Here he goes. Little chip over the top from Baggett, and he takes it as well, but he's so close to the touchline that there's very little he could do besides hold on to the ball and wait for the hits to come. And it's all getting a little bit spicy between Baggett and Gregor Hiddleston down beneath us.
Yeah, good kick from Glenn Bryce that time. He found a bit of space. Baggett got back. A little chip. It's Benedict Grant, I think, they got over and made the tackle. Yeah, there.
9 and 2.
Well, Gregor Hiddleston's last act will be to just tousle the hair of Jason Baggett. The impressive young hooker is off to be replaced by another who fits into that category, Angus Fraser. Double try scorer for the Warriors against the Wolves last weekend, and he has recovered from that wayward throw to go trampling down the tram lines on its scrum half as well as Eric Davey for Kyle McGee. He releases Pau and Tamosaitis. Good hit on the ball by Campbell Wilson, which forces it from the Giants' grasp, and McAndrew will chase Glenn Bryce back. Here goes Bryce. Oh, big shot. Irvin Hess was in there. Cecil and Ball as well. Not onto Gordon. Cal Davis hunting for another pilfer. Jackson to Holden, standing deeper. And Holden splitting the covering players. Baggett, who has such an assured and effective kicking game, will happily chase the Wolves back, but he may have chased them a bit too far. He has. It trundles over the dead ball line, and Stirling will have a scrum all the way back from where Jason Baggett struck that kick.
Yeah, it was inside his own half, I think, just over the 10-metre line. The players can read the flight of the ball. Marcus Holden's looked at that ball the whole time, and you can tell by the way it's spinning whether it's on an end over end or if it's in a spiral, or what shape of the ball is, what it's likely to do when it hits the ground. There's all the experience in the world, watches it, lets it bounce, and then he knows with that momentum on the hard ground it's probably going to run dead. If it pops up, then you can get a little bit embarrassed, but Marcus Holden, as calm as you like, watches that go dead, and it's a 60-metre turnaround in the scrum on the 10-metre line.
Straight back.
Only 6 more minutes of Lee Miller sin-binning for Watsonians to handle.
Well, if you look out the back, Watsonians, because it's Lee Miller, the fullback, who's in the sin bin, there's all the space in the world for a chip. There's no one in the backfield whatsoever. Special advantage, go for it.
Here we go, Holden. Jackson goes wide to Bryce. Salmon chasing this, but it screws in field. Jardine in hot pursuit. Where's the bounce? It's sitting up for Glenn Bryce. And Stirling Wolves at long last do make their numerical advantage tell, and they have their bonus point score through one of their most experienced pro players.
Well, they didn't kick initially, they moved it to the edge, didn't kick through, but the space is all there. We can clearly see it up here. Look, there's no one in behind. Ross McKnight in the left wing should be working over a bit quicker to cover it. And then Bryce just follows up. Nobody can deal with it, the bubbling ball, and Bryce just picks it up. Good kick through there, back infield. And that's where you can blindside win it, to cover over, pick up the pieces. Pringle tries to get it, he misses it. And Bryce dots it over, so that's a bonus point try for the home side.
Marcus Holden converts Bryce's try, and we're back to a 7-point deficit.
Try conversion for Stirling Wolves. The score, Stirling Wolves 24, Watsonians 31.
Was there an awful lot more Watsonians could have done about that, Chris, or was it just down to numbers and space?
Well, I just thought it was Guthrie on the far side. I think has to shuffle away, start more centrally, concede a bit of yardage off that, of that set piece on the far side, but start more centrally and then hunt over just to cover that backfield. It seemed to, the rule of thumb is if the ball bounces 2 or 3 times, and yes, it's a grubber kick, but it's bouncing 2, 3, 4 times before somebody gets there. There's somebody slightly out of position, so the communication between the back 3 or the back 2 as it is has to be a little bit better.
Brilliant height on that restart from Jason Baggett, giving the chasers plenty of time to hit Connor Gordon. Davy Fraser with his Glasgow Warriors debut down at Bath in the Challenge Cup, part of the run that's taken the Warriors to tomorrow night's semi-final down at Gleneffley. Brilliant season for Franco Smith's troops. Here's Baggett.
Stay.
Looking for some unguarded Bridgehaugh turf, but finding only the breadbasket of Craig Jackson and a lot of space down those tram lines.
All right, go.
50-22 was on, but Murdo McAndrew will stop it from going into touch.
Down advance.
Wasn't the most pretty of kicks from McAndrew, but it's worked out okay. Bryce sliding round the outside. Ben Salmon. Gap opens up. Salmon marauds through it. Stepping away from Baggett. And on it went back to Bryce. Eric Davey now. Benedict Grant. Little tip-on ball to Rory Knott. Stirling Wolves have their tails up here. A converted try brings them level. Jardine wide to Holden. Lovely slip ball to Hamilton. Holden wants it again. It's Jardine, and Jardine is in! Scintillating Stirling. Gorgeous interplay, forwards and backs combining. And Stirling Wolves weaving a tapestry through Watsonians.
This is a brilliant score. There's so many good elements to this in terms of the kicking to get into the field position, and then the kick chase, and then the secondary kick, and then when the ball comes back, Glenn Bryce all the way at the start of the counter-attack identifies it, it's on to go, and then Stirling come alive. The break down the left-hand side. This is a finish on the right-hand side. Brilliant offload from Marcus Holden, who then gets back in the game, but he doesn't get the offload back inside with Stevie Hamilton. It's Jardine who does really well to finish under pressure and get the ball down on the line. Really good attacking shape from Stirling. Watsonians' defence has been outstanding so far, especially the scramble, but with this 20-minute period, or almost 20-minute period with only 14 in the field, they're beginning to tire. Stirling's shape and accuracy is beginning to find the spaces, and Watsonians just need possession. They need to get the ball, keep the ball, even if they take 1 or 2 phases close to the breakdown, then kick and get an organised chase, because the momentum's all with the Wolves at the moment.
Touchline attempt from Marcus Holden, and it's across the face again, but in 2 second-half minutes, attacking the depleted Watsonians, the Wolves have all but wiped out that 14-point lead. It's now just 2 points, and we've got 18 minutes or so left.
And this is exactly what Watsonians have been talking about under that huddle. Take your time, walk to the
Yellow back on.
halfway, eat up any seconds with the clock perfect.
All right, yellow
And some
back
subs
on.
as well, and the yellow cards return. Is it Lee Miller? Been replaced, I think.
Yeah, I don't think Lee Miller's going to
7 and 15.
see this game out. Yeah, Miller is off. So Miller off for young Jack Brown, who's making his FOSROC Super Series debut wearing 23. Scotland under-18s captain. He'll drop into the backfield. Replacements as well at scrum half. Murdo McAndrew off. Hoyt's Hector Paterson on. And Campbell Wilson replaced by Johnny Morris. Meanwhile, Benedict Grant, sumptuous offload to Connor Gordon. And boy, do these Wolves have their tails up as Grant improbably gets a second touch. Davey, Jackson. Oh, Jardine can't take it. And that will quieten the Bridgehaugh faithful a little.
What a break from Benedict Grant. We could see him thundering onto possession, just perfectly timed onto the ball, and then he got the offload away to the impressive Connor Gordon again. And from quick, clean ball, it's just frustrating for Craig Jardine. He couldn't quite take it. And the long pass from Craig Jackson was perfectly out in front. That's maybe just the bit of luck, if you like, for Watsonians that they need just to get themselves settled and get back into this game, because Stirling Wolves, as you say, they're absolutely flying at the moment.
Point! Set! Use, lads.
First touch for Paterson. pumping that ball. Baggett to Pringle. Oh, he sliced them open. Pringle's heading for pay dirt. That is ruthless from Watsonians. What a fabulous carving, sword-like run from George Pringle. And he has his first try in the colours of his new team.
That's almost the first attack of the second half for Watsonians. Hector Paterson's brilliant delayed pass to Baggett, who then hits a cut with Pringle. It's a set-piece play, it's delivered perfectly, and that's a brilliant finish from Pringle. Paterson wants to bring the defence on the slide, as does Baggett, just to try and pull the defence across the field to allow the space for the cut, for the switch back for Pringle. He hits the ball full pace, slices through, and touches down just the right-hand side of the post, and what probably is, if not the first, then it's certainly one of the very few attacks Watsonians have had in this second half.
What a boost that has given the visitors. The defending Super Series sprint champions, remember, as they move on to 5 tries for the night. And they just quell that little revival that Stirling Wolves were enjoying. Big kick for Baggett. This would make it a 2-score game. And Baggett delivers. Stirling Wolves 29, Watsonians 38.
5, 6 and 3.
Yeah, good scrum initially, and watch Hector Paterson on the slide. Exactly the same, actually. Scott King comes on the shot line, doesn't get used. Baggett then hits a cut with Pringle. Perfectly executed. Another good set piece play. And a bit of afters.
A raft of replacements now coming on up front for Stirling Wolves. Donald Voas, a late addition to the bench today. The former bigger tight head is on for Marius Tamosaitis. Harris McLeod is on for James Pow in the second row. And Rory Knott has been withdrawn for 20-year-old Jake Spurway, who impressed very much against the Warriors last weekend. There he is wearing 20. He's come on at the blindside flank. Paterson under pressure from Ferguson. Benedict Grant covering, and it's gone straight out on the full. So the initiative handed back to Stirling Wolves. Momentum in this game changing hands at an incredible rate. Clean line out from the Stirling Wolves. Gordon, Davey, Jackson threatening. A big long pass again into Ben Salmon. Stirling Wolves need a response, they need one quickly. Angus Fraser could be the man to provide it. Ferguson, the Nottingham-born Scottish qualified lock forward. Jackson again going lateral. Straightening up was Craig Jardine, scorer of that bonus point try. Grant, Jackson to Fraser. Stirling Wolves' hands have been fabulous tonight. Benedict Grant again, just clattering into contact, earning those hard yards for his team. First carry for Harris McLeod, the Scotland under-20s international lock. Jackson delaying the pass, Holden, Jardine, good hands. Hamilton 1v1, Guthrie and Baggett scramble to make the tackle. Davey again, oh my goodness, what a hit from Donald Voas, who's just come on. Sitting players down, Breeze clings on, now it's Jackson, Bryce is lurking, Bryce is gathering, Bryce is tackled fantastically. That is an awesome bit of cover defence from the marauding behemoth on the wing, Ross McKnight.
Yeah, it's a brilliant tackle for Ross McKnight. The ball's in the air a little bit too long, it's a little bit too high pass, but then take nothing away from that challenge. If Ross McKnight goes too low there, Glenn Bryce almost makes it in the corner, but because he gets so kind of dominant collision, he almost lifts Glenn Bryce up and carries him into touch. I mean, that corner's seen 2 or 3 brilliant pieces of last-ditch defence from Watsonians, and although we've had 10 tries, there's 5 tries each. It's probably defence that has been the standout factor this evening, or a determining factor so far.
Water off, let's play. Time on. Come on. Water off.
Ben Salmon, an up-and-coming member of the Scotland under-20 squad. As we see Craig Jarvin making his way to the touchline, Gregor Smith, strength and conditioning coach at the University of St Andrews, brought on wearing 23. Pressure on this Watsonians line out. We go to the front and to Irvin Hess. And away they come quickly. Looking for meters, looking for a better angle for Jason Baggett to clear his lines. Low trajectory on that kick. And a first touch for Gregor Smith. Did he knock that on? No, he did not, see the officials. Glenn Bryce taking full advantage. Couldn't escape the clutches of Watsonians defenders. Harris McLeod ransacked.
Penalty advantage, 4.
Oh, Stirling Rules of the freebie here. Penalty advantage up their sleeves. What will they do with it? Hamilton, Bryce, Grant flicked it on to Holden. Didn't bounce forwards. There's Fraser again, and he's made a big impact off the bench tonight.
Penalty advantage, guys.
Jackson showing and going. Harris McLeod had made a fine run on his outside shoulder. Salmon, Bryce cutting back inside, shackled by Irvin Hess, but it's shoveled on to Ferguson. Close quarter offloads from Stirling have been so impressive tonight. Eric Davey ducked under the tackle of Irvin Hess. Another new penalty advantage for the Wolves. Jackson presses the gamble button, and Holden won't get there before the ball crosses the plane of touch.
Number 4, offside.
Yeah, it's loose ball, who's absolutely exhausted, and it's little wonder because he's emptied himself physically.
Offside.
Every contact he takes is on his terms, and he made 3 or 4 3 or 4 tackles there. I think he was penalised twice in the same play, but he's just absolutely determined to put his body in line. One wasn't rolling away, the second one was a little bit high, and then because of that moral good defence, Jackson puts boot to ball again, looking for that Marcus Holden on that crossfield kick, but the ball doesn't set up. And now we're going back to the corner. Good kick.
What a finale to this game we have now. 9 minutes left on the clock. 9 points the difference. And Stirling Wolves taking up residence where they've been for so much of the second half, deep in Watsonians territory. Looking for a try that would breathe real life into their comeback attempt.
One stop.
Watsonians defend it very well, and Angus Fraser ordered to do something with it. Davey, Hamish Ferguson running hard into Baggett and King. Oh, it's a bit loose, and it has gone forwards, and it is an opportunity wasted by Stirling Wolves, and it's a big, big boon for Watsonians and their defence.
Same old story, isn't it? I keep saying there's 10 tries, but the defence has been incredible from Watsonians. The tries that have been scored have been top drawer, but some of the scrambled defence, again, forcing error, forcing a knock-on. Almost the entire second half has been looking to that side of the field. And there's Benedict Grant. He's made a big impact, especially in the second half. He always does. He's such a talismanic player for Stirling Wolves, whether it's his ball carrying, whether it's his turnovers, whether it's his big collisions. He finds himself in the backfield counter-attacking. He really is a heartbeat of the Stirling Wolves side.
Standards never seem to drop either, Benedict Grant. He's always a relentless carrier.
Well, that's the thing. He's a relentless carrier. I mean, you think back to some of the massive collisions, massive bulk, but he's actually got really soft skills. A couple of brilliant offloads, passes before contact, taking gives under real pressure. He's got all these different elements to his game. So when you have those soft touches, those attacking abilities to shift the ball, shift the target, move it away, when players fly at you because they know how big a carrier, you're almost in control of most circumstances you're in, whether you're under pressure or you've got the threat or running at space. He really is a quality number 8, but although he's broken through a couple of occasions, Watsonians' defence has marshalled him really well so far this evening.
Crouch! Bind! Set!
Important scrum this for both teams for different reasons. It's solid for Watsonians. And Baggett, another booming clearance. And Glenn Bryce has to leave it. Jason Baggett, at this level especially, Chris, that right boot, his ability to win yards, to put teams in the right position or the wrong position, depending on your viewpoint, so precious.
Yeah, it's clinical, isn't it? I think a wee bit fortunate there in terms of the ball bouncing out. Bryce should maybe try and take that on the full. It's hard to have the awareness of where the touchline is, but yeah, he's as a calming influence as Jason Baggett.
Spurway rises highest, and Davey feeds Jackson. Holden, Benedict Grant, there he is yet again. 7 minutes left for Stirling Wolves to try and salvage this. Hamilton on the edge, dips into the tackle of Guthrie, scorer of one of those 5 Watsonian tries. Remember, 10 tries, 5 apiece. Watsonians converting all of theirs and adding the Lee Miller penalty. That's the difference at the moment. On goes Gregor Smith. Davey, Grant, Harris McLeod, stooping his 6'7" frame into contact. Jackson, Holden, again they move it wide. A good step and bump and run from Glenn Bryce. Davey went blind, but no options there, so Holden takes it on. And George Breeze, 74 minutes in the loosehead prop's legs now. Jackson changing direction, good tackle, very well brought down by Johnny Morris. Boaz on to Grant. Watsonians coaching staff loving this defensive effort. Glenn Bryce the next to feel the heat from the Edinburgh Fire. Davey, Breeze, phase after Stirling Wolves phase. Tackle after Watsonians tackle. Jackson, wide they go. Benedict Grant, could he be the man to create something? Hamilton now puts it down the touchline. Hamilton and Holden chasing. Paterson covering across. Connor Gordon grabs him by the shirt, and Paterson wriggles free superbly. And now Pringle going up the touchline, keeping it in. Irvin Hess shoveled it on to Angus Guthrie. And Watsonians have done very well to navigate their way out of a rather tight Bridgehaugh corner.
Yeah, it's really well done by Hector Paterson initially, wasn't it? And then Pringle, who's been outstanding the whole match, but certainly came into his own in the second half. And then I think there was almost like a no-arms tackle there as well. It wasn't quite picked up. Was it maybe Harris McLeod at the bottom of there? It wasn't quite picked up. But the penalty comes for Watsonians anyway, but really clever from Hector Paterson to cover the kick and then almost escape 3 defenders in his own 22. Watsonians go on to win the penalty. This will be boomed up the field. Was the Jason Baggett, we've already spoke about his boot and his influence, and they'll take all the time in the world to get to the line out.
Liam Quorm is coming on for George Breeze in the Stirling Wolves front row. There is Liam Quorm taking up his place at the front of the line out. George Breeze, 76 minutes, some shift from the loosehead prop. Of course, Craig Davidson of Watsonians, his opposite number, still out there. So too Cal Davis, the starting hooker for Watsonians. And he has the ball tucked under an arm, but offside.
15. Offside.
Yeah, it's a chance to get kick.
Jackson's gone for broke, and the gamble hasn't paid off. And Jason Baggett has absolutely laced that back. Jackson for Holden. That looked a little bit forwards. Perhaps more than a little. The Watsonians coaches are absolutely livid. They were in line with that pass from Jackson. Davey, it's an awkward pass. Picked up well by Liam Quorm, whose first act is to carry. Jackson under pressure, trying to plot a route through some very large Watsonians defenders. Davey, Quorm, dummying and driving. Smith, that might bounce kindly, it doesn't. Cal Davis gets it back. And now an opportunity for Watsonians to kill this. It's Pringle, can't link with McKnight. and Benedict Grant, as he does so often, picking up the pieces for Stirling Wolves. 2.5 minutes, the Wolves must score twice. Jackson goes wide, Marcus Holden, Ben Salmon's got pace. Here's Hamilton. Both the wings over on that far touchline. Fraser, both coaching boxes screaming for decisions. Davey, Holden just has to bash into Angus Guthrie. Time ticking away for the Wolves to pluck this from the fire. Connor Gordon hurdles the tackle. Davey, Jackson missing Spurway. And again, it's a big Liam Quarm carry that sets the attacking tone. Davey, Jackson, Smith. Price was outside him. Wrapped up quickly though by Ross McKnight. Stevie Scott is screaming at his players to leave the rucks, not to contest, to fill that field, to thwart the Wolves' advances. Oh, Salmon's given it away. Scott King was almost free. Crucially, Watsonians have possession. Minute and a half to see this one out now. And the champions are almost home and dry. Paterson looking for a forward, any forward. Johnny Morris is the man he chooses. Stirling crying for the penalty. Where on earth's the ball? They've got it back somehow. Marcus Holden, off he goes, up towards the 22. Losing bonus point as well as the try bonus point, still there for Stirling Wolves.
Roll, release that one.
Davey, good hands out the back from the forwards and from Grant. And now Bryce stepping, hits Grant again. Super tackle around the ankles. No turnover though. Ferguson, that's a bit loose. It's all backwards though. No, it's not. It is forwards, and it is game over.
That sums up the game, doesn't it? Frantic attack, frantic defence, and probably just coming out on top is the defence, time again.
O'Neill Van Hess has been awarded the FOSROC Player of the Match award by our broadcast colleagues on BBC Alaba, and he may not be quite as obvious without a ponytail as his opposite man, Chris, but he's been a really effective performer on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I thought that, I mean, there have been some outstanding players, and it's, I keep saying it's so ironic that when 10 tries are scored, his defence we're talking about. I thought Campbell Wilson was brilliant when he was on the back row, Seb Cecil, Lewis Ball, and Neil Irvin Hess. And then, you know, I think James Powell's been outstanding. Hiddleston had a big contribution. Connor Gordon, Benedict Grant, all played really well. It's been a proper test, a proper battle this evening, but Watsonians going to go away with maximum points.
Don't give away a pen.
O'Neill Irvin Hess, player of the match, and he will be on the winning side tonight. And crucially for the table standings, Stirling Wolves taking just the 1 point rather than the 2. Big Stirling shove. Paterson has it though, and Baggett will take his time, pirouette and punt Watsonians to victory. A fabulous advert for the FOSROC Super Series sprint tonight. 10 tries shared by these two semi-professional big hitters. A wonderful game of rugby, attacking enterprise galore, tries left, right and centre, some superb individual efforts, some cracking team scores as well. But in the end, it is champions Watsonians who have secured a morale-boosting and much-needed victory here at Bridgehaugh. Stirling Wolves lose after being so impressive against Glasgow Warriors A last weekend, thanks in part to the immense efforts of Neil Irvin Hess, our player of the match tonight, who has been so compelling with and without the ball in what's been a huge defensive shift for Watsonians. It sounds odd to say it when they scored 5 tries themselves, but down to 14 men for 20 minutes of that second 40. They defended so stoutly, they protected their line so impressively, and they forced Stirling Wolves into errors and mistakes and penalty concessions. It is Watsonians' night, and they are going on to 13 points near the top of the FOSROC Super Series sprint. Well, let's take a look at some of the best of the second half action, Chris, and with Watsonians losing first Lewis Berg, then Lee Miller to the sin bin, finally Stirling Wolves made that advantage count through Glenn Bryce.
Yeah, 3 tries scored in the second half from Stirling, but it took about 50 minutes of the second half of pure pressure before Watsonians caved in, and it was Glenn Bryce who made it the grubber kick through. No one in the backfield covering Lee Miller's in the sin bin. Angus Guthrie's a bit narrow on that short side. He could cover over, and it was the kick through that led to Glenn Bryce. Kicked himself, followed in, got the try, and that was important because Stirling had a lot of possession and a lot of territory and a lot of pressure, but couldn't get the points.
2 tries in 2 minutes, so it proved, after banging at the door for a long time. Stirling Wolves had their second. Glenn Bryce again teeing up that try for himself. Craig Jordan with a hand in it, and then Craig Jordan scoring the second try of the second half. And there was some lovely hands in the lead up to this one.
There was a big build-up, wasn't it? It was a counter-attack followed by, maybe about a minute and a half of continual attack, and it was eventually scored by Jordan. But some brilliant offloading, some brilliant handling up that short side, and this is where the momentum swung towards Stirling Wolves. Not only did they have territory and possession, but they were beginning to bag points as well. The conversions for the touchline were difficult for Holden. It meant they couldn't get quite close enough to Watsonians, but you can see the way they want to play. You can see the skill level it demands. Out the back from Holden, back inside from Hamilton to Jordan, and that's a decent finish under a huge amount of pressure from Guthrie. And at that time you thought, well, there's momentum building, but almost their only attack of the second half was another brilliant set-piece finish from Watsonians. This man, George Pringle, comes in the cut. You can see him at the top of your screen, cutting back against the sliding defence. Clean through and dodged down, and that was only a couple of minutes after Jordan's try, and that sealed the game in all honesty. Good speed, good line, good finish.
Yeah, 2 superb first phase tries actually, both scored by the Watsonian centres. George Pringle with a hand in the first one, Lewis Berg finishing it, and Pringle scoring what proved to be the decisive score under the Stirling Wolves posts. 2 very, very well crafted strike plays. Jason Baggett pulling the strings, George Pringle just carving Stirling Wolves open.
That sound like a wee bit of geek, but I think Watsonians scored a try with that play in the final last year, so it's one that others may follow.
Well, there we are then, 29-38 the final score in favour of Watsonians, and they are moving top of the FOSROC Super Series sprint tonight. Buttermere Bears and Heriot for Edinburgh Derby at Megatland tomorrow, and the Knights and the Blues do battle live on BBC Sports Scotland 5 p.m. after that one comes to a conclusion. So this is how things stand. 1 match into round 4 of the FOSROC Super Series sprint, and as I say, Watsonians moving on to 13 points by dint of the 5 they picked up here at Bridgehaugh. 2 clear of Stirling Wolves with just the 4-try bonus point, not able to finish within 7 points of their guests from the east today, so they're 2 points behind Watsonians. The Bulls hot on their heels, of course, in action down at the Green Yards tomorrow, and that could be an opportunity for them to go top of the table if they beat the Southern Knights, who, as we see, are struggling at the moment. Played 3, lost 3, just 1 point to show from it, and an interesting tussle as well when Heriots take on the Buttermere Bears, with all important table points up for grabs in Scotland's capital. So the FOSROC Super Series sprint takes a break next weekend as we sit back and enjoy the URC playoffs, and in particular from a Scottish point of view, Glasgow Warriors taking on Munster at Scotstoun next Saturday. But we are back with you in a fortnight's time. Friday the 12th of May, we'll be live from Megatland as Buttermere Bears take on Watsonians in the penultimate round of fixtures. So a fabulous night of attacking FOSROC Super Series sprint rugby. It is victory for Watsonians, and the champions flex their muscles and head to the top of the Super Series table. Thanks for your company tonight. We'll see you again soon.